Living Building Challenge is a sustainable building standard that is at the cutting edge of the most progressive thinking. What's outstanding about it, of course, is that it looks at both how a building operates, what it's made of, and the nature and ecological systems around it, and tries to find a position where a building will become a positive factor in all of those things. We've accepted new challenges, and we're developing a brand new set of ideas in this project that we haven't developed previously. You don't go into nature and find orthogonal forms. You find the beauty of a bird's wing or the stem of a flower are all extraordinarily advanced and sophisticated shapes that are organic in nature. The design and construction and installation of the roof forms, shading forms, daylight attracting forms are all meant to flow together as a composition that we believe will be beautiful when it's complete. What you'll notice about this building is there's no two pieces of structure that are the same, that the building flows and undulates across the site and in connection with views and opportunities. So we chose a series of roof forms that replicate in an abstract way a native British Columbia orchid. It actually reaches the ground in a broad area on the north end of the building. Critters will be able to run up and get on the roof and eat and enjoy and capture prey or enjoy the salad bowl that's up there. We're hoping that the public sees that the most beautiful architecture is one that is completely in harmony with nature.
Well, I certainly don't want a flat roof building as a visitor center, and started rummaging one night through my library and found a book by Carl Bloesfeld with photographs of plants of 1928. And the one that struck me the most was the leaf of an orchid. And that became our symbol for the green roof. People need to refresh their souls surrounded by nature. So this is one of the most important projects for all of us living in the urban environment of Vancouver. It's going to be the state of the art, not just of Vancouver, but all of Canada.
How do you make something subtle and be crafted into the landscape, but at the same time be bold enough so that it would become a visual presence? We really used, I think, 3 different pieces of software to develop the project, but really Rhino as a design tool was probably the most influential on the project. It's used to design forms that are free form or more organic, and it does so in a very precise way. It's traditionally the way in which we would talk to a client about a project and look at the spaces, whereas in a project like this, it was all done in 3D. It was the software package, to some extent, that gave us the vision to be able to conceive of forms like this in the first place. The way you learn in architecture is by doing, ultimately. You need to be working and engaging with a tool every day. We really pushed the boundaries of perhaps what was ultimately constructible. Technology like Rhino was really indispensable in a project like this.
There's 3 main elements that I'd say. One is energy, another is building materials, and the third really is where those materials are gathered from. Heat is taken from the sun in solar hot water tubes on the roof. There's a huge array of tubes on the roof that will take the heat, and then we put it into the ground and store it in the ground and pull it out when we need it. There's huge storage capacity in the ground. Then electricity is dealt with. There's going to be a number of solar panels for that as well that convert the sun into power. We're also energy trading, so that some of the heat that we've built, we trade it to an adjacent building and they will give us back electricity as a trade. The water systems will be cleaning and reusing the gray water. Gray water is water used for washing hands, etc. Then the black water, that's the water of toilets, kitchen sinks and such. That will be cleaned and released on the site in some of the ponds.
The architectural vision for this building was that it would have the appearance of floating. The roof would have the appearance of floating above the building. And what makes this one so challenging is firstly the very complex geometry of the roof structure, which resembles leaf petals. It also supports a green roof. So there's a lot of sod, a lot of earth, soil on top of the roof. And that makes for it's a very heavy load that's imposed on the structure. When you have a complex problem, you try to simplify it. That was the approach here too. We have a complex geometry. We sliced the building, we sliced up the building, and took what are almost rectangular shapes and prefabricated these individual rectangular or almost rectangular components. They're actually trapezoidal shape, and then just stitched them back together again on site. And so what you see happening now on site is all these large prefabricated pieces, very curvy pieces in and of themselves, brought to site and lifted in place one at a time and bolted together, and that's what will form the final complex geometry.
The philosophy is that we're trying to build the most sustainable building possible given the constraints of current technology. This living building will push the boundaries of what's possible in design in Vancouver, in design and in construction. Knowing that there's a project out there that has attained net zero energy use, net zero water use, is dealing with its own black water on site, has been able to source the vast percentage of their materials locally within set radiuses. A project that's been able to achieve all of this, I think, is going to let other builders in the city know that they can do more.
We embarked this project about 10 years ago, and it took a long time to get here where we are today. We tried many different options and realized that either we do this well or not at all. This building will present many educational opportunities for us to draw from. It will also affect the way people live and use the building. It is very important for us that we actually push boundaries, the way construction is being dealt with now, make sure that our bylaws and permits understand fully this new way of thinking and living. This is one of the very important steps in our commitment to sustainability and our commitment that Vancouver becomes the world's greenest city by 2020. There is a lot more work ahead of us, and again, this is one of the really big steps. I do hope that this living building, being first in Canada, will open up eyes to people as to how they can live differently in more sustainable ways, and that they will repeat our model many times over.
I'm pretty excited. I've been a member of the garden since it opened in 1975, and I was in the second guide class, and everybody in Vancouver is going to know about it and want to come and learn more about plants and how important plants are in our lives. We're here. We've been hidden behind a fence and high trees for the last 35 years, and it's about time we present it as a public facility so that people know we exist. It was a daunting project to start. We were with a clean slate, and we had to raise $20 million and said fine. But in fact, it turned out to be a really exciting, positive experience for us as we went around the community, talked to members, talked to friends, and talked to people who didn't know much about VanDusen, but we found out had quite a passion for it. And to have this whole new space available to all the citizens of Vancouver, they'll see it and they're going to want to come in, and then they'll walk through the building and get into the garden. We say that it's Vancouver's best kept secret, so we want to change that and let people know that there's 55 acres in here of cultivated gardens. There's just a world of knowledge. So the secret's got to be stopped, and the garden gate has to open.